Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to our YouTube channel, Fearless Minds. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below. Let's get started. Today, we're going to talk about a secret about that power is within you. It is impossible in this little work of descriptive talk to explain why it is that one person inherits a weak, ailing body and the other one enjoys a strong, robust one. It is sufficient for us to hear and notice that the days of rugged health are passing and that man is becoming more highly strong, nervous, and psychic in its makeup. The old table are turning, and the health that is due to the animal-like nature of man is causing the body to govern more completely by the instinctive mind. And less evolved humans are not affected apparently, but more evolved ones are, by the mental storms of psychic changes and the spiritual disharmonies that disturb the health of the more evolved types. We have an illustration for this. In the case of some forms of insanity, the patient goes out of his mind, with the result that his bodily health becomes wonderfully good. The instinctive mind takes control of things and rules by the animal health, and the result is a patient is seen with mind filled with worry, ambitions, plans, care, lust, and grief. He was probably very far from well. This would be due to the disturbing things that is the result that the instinctive animal mind was able to work undisturbed. It is of no use saying for good old times that when people who are rugged and strong in a way that evolution has decreed that its demand is more, and it shall change into a higher and more robust sensitive type. In the sensitive type, wrong thoughts, emotions are quickly produced and followed by pain and suffering. The majority of people with good health are not only suffering from minor ailment such as headaches, indigestions, rheumatism, but they also never feel completely well. They are strangers to the joy of living. Life does not thrill them. Nothing quickens their blood. They have no moments of vivid ecstasy. In other words, they do not live. They merely exist at a poor dying rate. Again, the majority of people are susceptible to infectious disease and epidemics. Yet, if they are really well, they will be immune. Instead, however, of seeking immunity through health, they are seeking it through the use of vaccines and serum, thus adding burdens which the body has to bear. And all attempts in this direction are bound to end in failure. For as fast as one disease is suppressed, another will appear. Many people look upon diseases and sickness as inevitable. Yet, the truth is that health is a normal state, and ill health an abnormality. We find that, first of all, that it is due to the disobedience of natural law. Large numbers of people break nearly natural law of health. They're surprised that they become and wonder as to why they're well. Well, obedience to nature's laws and the use of nature cure methods will carry a certain part of the way. We find that there must be cause even deeper than those physical ones. We are confronted by the fact that there are many people who live and follow the non-physical law of health, and they obey, exercise, eat, and drink. Scientifically, who adopted nature cure methods instead of drug and serums cannot find health sometimes. Therefore, we must search deeper and go to the mind in order to discover the cause of ill health. We look to the mind to find the cause of sickness, because obedience and the physical law or the natural law does not cure the health. It's in our mind, and that's where the power lies, because we don't want to add burdens to our body. Our mind adds the burdens, and the health becomes ill health soon. It is well known that thinking about diseases and sicknesses produces in the body. People who are forever thinking about diseases, illness, operations, and other morbid subjects become a prey to these things. Those who believe that sickness is inevitable, it manifests in their life. Morbid thinking produces a morbid state of the body, causing it to either fall, an easy prey to infection, or to break it down into chronic mental health. Thus, searching deeper in the mind has become important. This man is also not just guilty, but caught in his own negative thoughts and emotion. He's also under the hypnotic spell of the race mind. The God of this world has blinded the minds of them, which, believe it or not, we are all under a spell, more or less a huge illusion. The evils of diseases and sicknesses and other imperfections that we see and experiences have no reality. In reality, we would have been in existence in unreality, although they are not real. In a real sense, yet they are terribly real to this present, limited, conscious. And by realizing the truth and by thinking and living in its light and power, they have not to expel, and thus not ill. Not completely, else we should not rule us such an extent that the state has greatly improved health and can be enjoyed. We're hypnotically affected by suggestions, which arises from 1,000 different sources. The conversations of friends and acquaintances affect us adversely. Their belief in disease and sickness is reality, and then it's inevitable this affects us, and we hold on to these conversations. And unless we guard against it, this unconsciously affects us. Newspapers, magazines, and all these sources suggest that the realities that cannot be weighted. Like Hollywood movies, I can tell you the effect of all of this. Putting it in simple language, it's that it diverts the life power to one channel, thus producing diseases and ill health in place of perfection. Some normal state of fact has to give place to an abnormal state of disease or sickness. The normal health state is, however, restored when truth is realized that the life lived in its light and power is the absolute truth and perfection. Stand behind all the illusion and imperfection is the sense life. It is by realizing the truth and the perfection of the reality, and by establishing the full life and truth, so that our thoughts cease to be negative, and based on error and illusion, that health is to be found. It is often said that ill health is a result of sin. Thinking about disease, sickness, and ill health is leaving them to be inevitable is one of the greatest sins of life. After the spirit, to think and act after the spirit, which is perfect, whole, immortal, and incorruptible, and not after flesh. If I'm thinking after flesh, we dishonor God, who is absolute whole and perfection, and we cut ourselves off from the divine life power. But there are other ways by which wrong thinking destroys the health and thinking thoughts of lust and prolific causes of unhappiness, sickness, and nervous disease. The divine forces of life and directed into a wrong channel, resulting in either indulgence and inevitable weakening of body. And its consequences are harsh. If the thoughts are allowed to dwell upon impurity, evil thoughts, it must follow in some form, either inaction or ill health. But if it's controlled and reversed continually, simultaneously and not repressed or reversed be noted, for there is a tremendous difference between the two. Repression creates nervous trouble, and by revising and transmuting the thoughts, the life becomes transformed and the bodily health greatly improved. Further indulging into thoughts of hate, resentment, evil, fear, worry, care, grief, and anxiety produces ill health, and by lowering the tone of the body lays it open to infection and disease. We therefore see that the state of mind and the character of the thought are important factors and cannot be ignored. It is useless to treat either ill health or disease if they are merely external effects, hidden causes of the mind. In order to effect the cure, we have to get back to the cause of the trouble. Thought control is a great assistant, substituting the right or positive thought for a wrong one. And of course, time works wonders alike in the subconscious. We have an illimitable power of extraordinary intelligence. According to our thoughts, this wonderful power either builds up health, harmony, and beauty in our life and the body, or just the reverse. The power is good, the intelligence is apparently infinite, but it goes wherever our thoughts are directed, our thinking. Therefore, we either create or destroy to produce either good or evil. If therefore all our thoughts are good, positive, and constructive, it follows that both our body and life must become built up in harmony and perfection. The question is, can this be done? It can be done if we have the desire and the willing of discipline and perseverance. Some readers may say at this point that they have no desire to be frightfully good and that they are not prepared to give up lust, impurity, hate, anger, malice, thoughts of emotions, or any kind. Very well, if this is so, then they must go on and learn through suffering, the lesson which they refuse and willingly learn. This brings up to an even deeper cause of ill health than that of mind and attitude of heart. Our scriptures tell us that a man thinketh in his heart, so is the heart is meant the soul or feeling desiring part of man. It is here the conflict between the self-will and the divine will comes, between the desires of flesh and the longingness of the spirit takes place. The real root cause of all unhappiness, disharmony, and ill health is spiritual, not merely mental or physical. Man is kingdom divided against itself. As our Lord said, that stand healing them must be of a spiritual character. Until the harmony exists, then there can be thoughts of age and worry thoughts. Until these are overcome, there can be no true healing. And as our Lord's healing says, gracious healing from the Spirit is restored inward harmony. Neither was it achieved by human willpower, and it will start by bringing into harmony with the heart and the desire with the divine will. At the same time, there must be a revelation of truth that the will of God is love, wholeness, joy, and perfection. Until we have surrendered entirely, we cannot overcome our thoughts of malice, transmuting them into love, and to leave all our problems of the infinite mind. We cannot cease to worry and fear. Mental discipline is important, and it's important for control. After this, inward change has taken place, for we all have to work and our own salvation. But the essential thing is the inward heart surrender is love and trust. So, as long as we hate our brother or fear what the moral may bring forth or worry about things in life, we can never do well. Divine harmony and have learned to control our thoughts, emotions, and become attuned to God, and to transmute fleshly and material desire into loving service, a state of wholeness, is the inevitable result. All deeply seated disorders die away, and a steady improvement of state of health takes place. The will must be surrendered to the greater will, and the reality is our highest good for the fulfillment of the divine will is the happy destiny of man. The heart must forgive and be filled with love. Fear must be cast out and replaced by confidence and soul of mind and body. This harmony is dependent entirely upon the greater harmony between ourselves and God. So as long as there is conflict of will, so as long as there is hate, resentment, so long as there is selfishness or fear, the harmony cannot exist. Therefore, the bedrock of cause of health is spiritual harmony. All healing being a restoration of harmony between man and his divine source. When this harmony is restored, man is no longer a kingdom divided against itself fully, because it establishes a unity. He walks with the universe and the divine laws of his being, instead of against them. The divine life and power flows through him, unimpeded, promoting perfect subconscious functioning. His thoughts become cleansed at their source. He becomes free from the neurotic spell of the raised mind. His eyes, through the influence of the Divine Spirit, become open to the truth. Therefore, he is no longer blinded by the prince of the world. In the divine union, he becomes free with the God, and the subject of grief and its effect on health has purposely been left to the last. No amount of right thinking will prevent the movements in this life. These form parts of the necessary discipline of life, and it depends entirely on how we meet our trials, whether they shall be hurtful or the greatest possible blessing. Rebelling against life's disciplines, grief become hurtful, but the hurt is not the bereavement itself, but in the attitude of the mind and heart. Until the soul is able to drink a cup of sorrow willingly and say, "Thy will be done," bereavement is hurtful, destroying both health and happiness. The cause of the hurt is, however, in the hardness of heart and not in the bereavement itself. There must be, therefore, submission and then acknowledgement that the discipline is necessary. This does not imply, however, a weak giving into grief and mourning, but one who has been bereaved can never. But it is true that they might not be the same again, or he or she becomes more loving, more sympathetic, richer, and more mellow character. The loved one can never be forgotten. That is no reason why the heart should be bounded down by grief, and the life made desolate by sorrow. In such cases, true religion or not religions, this is the only thing that can satisfy the soul's harmonious mind and heal the body to be established in truth, knowing that all is well known, that God makes no mistake. And then there is in reality no death, but only change, that by way bereavement can be made to a blessing in disguise. When the stage is reached, grief is overcome and is swallowed up with victory. Grief is overcome, and the only important thing in the life is that the struggle is conscious harmony with our divine source and the divine will and purpose, which desires only our highest good. And, like I said before, there must be submission and acknowledgement, which is necessary to reach the truth and to get away from all the worriness. And such, the bedrock cause of health is spiritual harmony. And not just mental and physical. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos.